Hello, I'm Donna Bottomley. Welcome to the weekly process where we take 15 minutes, give or take, to use expressive writing to offload and process the week that has just gone and anything that is on your mind from the week that's just gone. The reason for doing this is so that we can prepare for Monday and the start of another week with relative clarity. The reason why I've done these sessions on Sunday is because as we face Monday, and I know that everyone's working week can be different, so if Sunday's not the day when you feel this, that's okay. But I'm talking about that Sunday feeling that we have as we face Monday. And sometimes, because we've had a busy week, we can be facing Monday with things still left to process from the week that has just gone. And the topic that I was talking about this week is the brain's need for completion. So that's something I'm going to bring into my writing this week. And the reason for that is because it can lead us to ruminate over things that we can't easily answer. So the brain has a need for completion. It remembers unfinished business more than it remembers completed tasks. And this effect is called the Zeigarnik effect, after the psychologist Brumer Zeigarnik, who discovered this function of the brain. The brain remembers unfinished tasks more than it remembers completed ones, which makes sense, okay? But when it comes to emotional events, sometimes that can be quite difficult for us if we don't have closure, don't know why something happened, or we're asking ourselves the question, why did that happen? Why did I do that? Why did they do that? Why did this happen? This is what it can lead to. So this rumination is something I see in my practice quite often, usually because we're asking ourselves the question why something happened. And usually these things are not easily answerable, are they? They're questions that we can't easily answer, actions that we can't easily take to answer those questions. So that was a topic I talked about in my newsletter this week. And I thought I'd bring that up because if you have, like I have been this week, if you have found that you've been replaying some events that have happened, I would like to invite you to bring that into your writing. If you found that you've been replaying something, get that out onto paper and just write whatever comes when you're writing about this thing that you've been replaying. We'll process it afterwards and I'll show you how to do that. All right. So I'm talking here about recent events. If something traumatic has happened for you, now is probably not the time to try and process the trauma because your brain does not want to be overwhelmed any more than it may already be if you've had a traumatic event happen. So these are recent events, maybe over the past week or two, but relatively minor things, not traumatic events. If you have had a trauma happen, you might instead want to write about how you feel right now and what might support you right now. And also, I think it's important I should say that these sessions can't take the place of individual therapy because I don't know you and I don't know your individual circumstances. So only write about what is comfortable for you. So with that in mind, let's get started. And if you don't have something that you've been replaying on your mind this week, then you could use this first offloading session to maybe write about your feelings about the upcoming week, any apprehension that you've got about Monday. You could maybe write about that instead, or maybe something that niggled you over the past week. All right, so get a pen and paper. Hopefully you'll give this a go with handwriting rather than the laptop. But if you do want to type, because writing is difficult, that's absolutely fine. But if you can give it a go, I would encourage you to try writing by hand. It's a very different thing. And obviously either one works, but handwriting has been shown to use a different part of the brain and to help us process a little bit easier than typing does, but So whatever works for you, again. And in total, this first writing session is going to be for 7 minutes. So let's get going with our offload. Okay, let's go. Let's do a quick pause and breathe just to create a break between this session and the next one, which is going to be the processing session. Okay, so take a big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. Another big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. One more of those. Big breath in and let it out like a big sigh. Just scanning your body for any tension. Make sure you're not clenching in your toes or fingers or shoulders or calf muscles or anywhere else. Just shake it out if you are. Because we were kind of, well, sometimes you can be hunched over while you're writing and not quite realise the tension in your body. So that's what that exercise is for, just kind of making sure you're not clenching anywhere and releasing that tension. Depending on what you were writing about, you may have found that that was either relaxing or something that really made you feel some feelings there. So I wonder how that exercise went for you. That first session is the offloading, where we're just trying to get out onto paper the topic that we're writing about. Not trying to process it yet, not trying to reach any understanding about it, just trying to get it out onto the paper. Although, depending on how you write, you might have found that you were structuring as you were going. But really, there's no pressure to do that. It's just to try and get it out. Doesn't need to be grammatically perfect, or you don't need to worry about spelling or anything like that. Now, in this second session, what we're doing is we're taking what you've written there and processing it. So James Pennebaker, the founder of expressive writing, has found in his research that if we use these writing exercises as just a brain dump, that can be helpful, but isn't always as helpful as if we process that writing. And what that means in practice is taking what you've written and reflecting on what came out, looking for patterns, looking for anything that stands out as interesting. Have you done that before? Has that happened before? What do you notice? Were you making any assumptions? What did you think that meant? You could have many different questions come up for you, but the point is that you're reflecting on what came up there and drawing links, making patterns, seeing patterns, just really trying to expand on what you've written there. And it can be hard to do that at first, but you just start and then just see what comes out as you look back over what you've written. So some good places to start with this are there any patterns or any assumptions that you might have been making there? What would somebody else say about this if you were talking to them about this issue that came up? Just notice what comes up for you. Any actions that you might want to take if you were in that situation again. Now, I said at the beginning that what we would do is try and process things that we may have been ruminating on. And it's not hugely different to how you would process anything else. But one of the things that you could do, if you find it helpful, bearing in mind the brain's need for completion and not liking unfinished business, you could turn it into a story. So creating a narrative, like what happened. So this happened and then that happened and then that happened, giving it some semblance of a beginning, middle, and end, making it a story structure. Obviously, if it's not completed, you may not have the ending that you want. But if you were telling this to someone, how would you tell it to them in a narrative way? So you could write it out like that as you are processing, and give it your own beginning, middle, and ending. And any actions that you might want to take about this issue could also be important to put in here, because sometimes when we're replaying events, it can be because there is an action that we're not taking, either because it's difficult, we don't know what to do, or we're quite uncertain about what to do. that can help if you think about what the action is that you might want to take to move you forward with this issue. So hopefully that gives you some pointers for where to go with your processing. So let's get started with that. Either set your timers or wait for my lovely little graphic coming up here, and I will see you in 7 minutes. Let's go. Hello and welcome back after that second writing session. How did you find it? It would be really interesting to know how you found this exercise as a whole, the first session and the second session, and how that's going for you. Are you finding that it's one clear offload and then processing, or are you doing both together in one writing session and then writing about something else in the next session? See, I use it a few different ways, and it often just depends on what comes up that day, really. So yeah, did you find that it moved you forward on an issue, or made you see a different side to an issue, give you a different insight into that thing? And if you were replaying and ruminating over something because it felt like unfinished business, where are things now for you with regards to that? Do you feel like you've moved forward slightly? Did you notice that there is an action that you could take to help you with this? So if you were interrupted there and you hadn't quite got to the end of your processing, or you feel like you want to write an action plan based on what came up, then what you could do is set yourself a timer for another 7 minutes to do that. And obviously, if you don't need the full 7 minutes, that is fine. But the 7 minutes is useful. I often find that if you stop when you first want to stop, that is absolutely fine. But if you can try to push yourself a little bit further from that point when you first want to stop, you can often get down into a deeper level with that thing that you're processing. So try that. I can talk a bit more about that next week. But if you don't want to do another 7 minutes and you feel like you don't need to do another 7 minutes, then that is your weekly process for this week. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope you got something from that exercise. And I hope you have a brilliant week. And I will see you again next Sunday for another weekly process. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.